Ms. Chair, the time is now 5 o'clock. You may begin.
Thank you. Good evening. I am Barbara Brescian, Chair of the City of Sugar Land's Parks Advisory Board. It is now 5 o'clock on Tuesday, February 9th, 2021, and the Park Advisory Board's February meeting is now called to order. And as a reminder, this meeting also is being live streamed on YouTube. Moving on to public comment, item number 2. Have any citizens requested to speak before the board this evening?
No, ma'am.
No, apparently no residents have made that public comment request. So we're moving on to item number 3, fact finding and recommendation. Consideration of an action on a recommendation of a future single track mountain bike trail at Brazos River Park to the Director of Parks and Recreation, William Hodgick, Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation. William?
Thanks, Barbara. Good evening, Parks Board. I want to get into a little bit of background here for a second, and then we'll get into it. Trails exist throughout the city. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one thing I did forget to do. I forgot to introduce a couple of guests that we have with us tonight. Looks like Ryan Stroll, the chair of Fort Bend Mountain Bike Association, just joined us. And Anthony Baber, the vice chair of Fort Bend Mountain Bike Association, joined us as well. I also have Fonlin Dews joining us tonight as well. She helps with these mountain bike trails. And then Jorge Cordova is our new Parks and Rec Superintendent of Maintenance. He took over after Glenn retired right before COVID hit. And I wanted to properly introduce him in person at a at an in-person meeting, and I was kind of hoping we were going to get back to in-person, and we kind of haven't been able to get back in person. So I asked Jorge to join us as well. Guys, if y'all want to say hi or wave your hand or whatever, unmute yourself and say hi if you want to, or if not, I'll get into it. But thanks for joining us, guys. And they'll also be around if they ever have any questions at the end, or if they want to comment on anything that I left out or forgot to say. So thanks for joining us. Trails exist throughout the city, parks, neighborhoods, schools, and along drainage channels for walkers, joggers, cyclists, and strollers and rollerbladers. Hike and bike trail surfaces include concrete and asphalt and decomposed granite, gravel, or DG, as well as natural earth trails. Trails serve a wide variety of users for exercise and natural observation. Trails within the parks typically consist of two main types: a more traditional pedestrian bike trail, asphalt, DG, hard surface open to all, and a more traditional bike natural trails, more limited locations, single track dirt, typically dirt, still open to all, further from homes, and typically is in heavily vegetated areas. Next slide, please. Thank you. To review of the FBMBA and City of Sugar Land Agreement overview. The license is non-exclusive. The city reserves the right to use the licensed premises or allow any other persons to use the licensed premises for any purposes or purposes provided. Purposes do not unreasonably interfere with the rights of FBMBA. It's a one-year term, commencement on the effective date. Council does reserve the option to extend the license agreement for up to 4 additional one-year periods by notifying FBMBA in writing at least 30 days before the current term's expiration date. The license agreement was reviewed with Parks Board, approved by City Council, and went into effect on 12/3/19. Next slide, please. The FBMBA and City of Sugar Land are now in our second year term of the agreement. A little background on FBMBA: they operate as a chapter of the International Mountain Bike Association, IMBA. They have 327 active members and growing. They include 7 board members, including a chair and vice chair that meet monthly. Ryan and Anthony that joining us tonight are the chair and vice chair. Their Facebook has grown to 8,500 members and growing. They keep their insurance coverage up to date. The significant increase in park riders since the agreement has been in place. It's just blown up in popularity. Brazos River Park, Oyster Creek Park, Brindley Trail, 300 vehicles plus have been reported at Brazos River Park on a Saturday morning, with most of them being bikers. The new connector road and bridge and sidewalk is kind of opening the doors, so to speak, at Brazos River Park, and the bikers are just coming out. And so well loved, well liked, and well maintained. Next slide, please. IFMBA's work over the past year. They have assisted with the maintenance of the mountain bike trails per the agreement, approximately 4,000 volunteer labor hours, approximately. They refined the Brazos River Park and Oyster Creek trails for safety and better rideability. They performed quarterly written trail inspections and continue to do so. They performed trail improvements, litter pickup, installed trail section markers for location purposes for 911. They installed city-approved trail features. They restored previously flooded trails at River Park from Hurricane Harvey. They cut and removed vines from the trees to also help me with my urban forestry efforts. Next slide, please. Parks maintenance crew, Jorge and his crew, have assisted with maintenance of the bike trails. They installed trail rule signs at all the major entrances, as you can see in the picture there. GIS documentation for public safety and 911 emergency calls. PhoneLine was a big help with that. We removed large fallen trees from the trail when FBMBA can't do it or don't have the manpower to do it or equipment to do so. Next slide, please. We inspect and review all trail modifications or maintenance requests from FBMBA. We install trail benches at trailheads, like you see in the attached picture there. We created update trail maps for the city website and to send to Fire 911 so they can easily get to patrons if need be. We review and present to Parks Board for new trail requests like we're doing now. Next slide, please. The approved trail maps are Brindley Trail, Brazos River Park Trail, River Park Trail, and Oyster Creek Park Trail. Next slide, please. This is River Park Mountain Bike Trail. The location is River Park. It's about 5.4 miles. This is the trail that the majority of this left-hand side of 99 in the purple was underwater quite significantly from Hurricane Harvey and Memorial Day floods and Tax Day floods. And so it was significantly impacted from the floods. But the mountain bike group, along with my oversight and Jorge's help, restored these trails back to rideability again. And so it significantly increased the usage of these trails. What you see to the right of 59 in the turquoise-ish color is the more predominantly walking trails. They're wider and they have some fly ash on them, gravel on them, and they're predominantly walking trails. Those are the trails we took over when we annexed River Park. And so those trails were built by the mud, and then we took them over and we maintain them now. The left-hand side of 99 is all the mountain bike trails that and you can see they're sub-named, and that's to help 911 and fire respond quicker or get to people quicker if they don't, we can kind of help ID where they're at. So there's a main name and then there's some sub-names, and the sub-names have trail markers showing you where you're at. It's just for location purposes and kind of ease of following the trail purposes. Next slide, please. We also have Oyster Creek Park and Lost Creek Park mountain bike trails. What you see there in the green is the asphalt walking trails. The bike trails are what you see there in purple and blue and turquoise, and they predominantly are in the woods and they follow the creek. And that's 3.38 miles. And those are very popular, and they dry up very quickly, and they're good all around trails. Next slide, please. A lot of us already know Brindley Mountain Bike Trail. That trail was a donation. It probably is 10 plus years old. It's 1 mile long. It was impacted by Hurricane Harvey pretty significantly, but Parks Maintenance, along with FBMBA, restored that trail as well, relocated the entrance to the right, as you can see, to the right-hand side a little bit away from the river. And it's a really kind of a beginner level 1 mile loop trail. Very popular. And it's with the assistance of FBMBA, we maintain it at a much higher level now, thanks to them. Next map, please. Brazos River Park Trail, Tower Loop Trail, as a lot of people call it. It's a 2 mile trail. It's at Brazos River Park. It's in the woods along the Brazos River there. It's that purple loop trail that you see. It's 2 miles long, and it has a 1/4 mile trail markers so people can identify where they're at. It's a one-way trail. And FBMBA has worked really hard at keeping this one maintained, and it's extremely popular. Again, up to 300 cars have been seen at Brazos River Park, predominantly bikers on a Saturday. So very, very popular bike trail. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a video of me riding my own mountain bike at Brazos River Park, Tower Loop Trail. It's a little shaky because the camera was on my, the GoPro was on my handlebars. There's some aerial drone footage of me riding the mountain bike trails. And then you can just get a kind of an idea of how just kind of in the woods and kind of an enclosed yet serene feel it is to ride your mountain bike out there. I mean, I had a blast. I was huffing and puffing, I'll tell you that. We get to ride these trails, it's kind of stop and enjoy the views along the way. North Lake, for example. It's hard to see it from the park when you get down on these trails. Get a good idea what it looks like. So yeah, I mean, there's some really nice views along the way. Brazos River, the lakes, and you kind of get a different perspective of the park and appreciation for the park while you're getting exercise. Thanks Trisha and Communications for helping with the drone footage and the GoPro footage on this one. I'm definitely not the video expert, and so Trisha did a lot of editing on this. So next slide, please. So while we're here tonight, new trail request in the agreement, future trails within 30 days of receiving a request from the licensee for the construction of a new trail or a walkthrough. The city's Parks and Recreation Department will notify licensee in writing of its approval or denial of such request, provided, however, if there is a concern that a trail segment could cause opposition from surrounding residents, this 30-day timeframe may be exceeded to receive community and/or Parks Board input. If the proposed trail is within 35 feet of the back fence of an adjacent property, the owner will be notified by city staff. if the proposed new trail is in a park with no other trails or would be a major change to an existing trail route, which this is, would be reviewed by Parks Board for review and comment. Next slide, please. So the new trail. That's at Brazos River Park, that goes in between Brazos River Park and Memorial Park. We're going to get to a map in just a second, but it was mapped roughly by FBMBA using Parks Board input. It's not been built yet. It's just been flagged. It follows the new connector road sidewalk at Brazos River Park, the one that 717 construction is building, to give bikers the option to stay off the sidewalk and levee and have their own trail to ride between the parks. A lot of the times the bikers to get from Memorial Park to Brazos River Park were riding on the levee and were really supposed to stay off the levee. The trail building would be performed by FBMBA if approved. Trail would be built following the agreement and IM International Mountain Bike Association standards. It does utilize the new Brazos River Park Connector low water crossing bridge and trail. So it does utilize a section of the new construction to get across the ditch. It utilizes park space that is otherwise not in use, and it connects the two existing bike trails, Brazos River Park Bike Trail and Brindley Trail. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's a picture of the proposed route trail, the Brazos River Connector Trail. You can see the connector trail, proposed trail is in yellow, and it's dotted yellow line. It's the one in the center of your map. On the left-hand side is the Crown Festival site in purple. The Brazos River Park concrete trails are in green, and the existing Brazos River Park trails that's in the agreement is that orange line, kind of in the left-hand corner. You can kind of get a glimpse of it. The right-hand side blue is the Memorial Park DG trails and road. And you can see how the yellow dotted line is the new proposed trail that we're working on getting agreements tonight. And it's the dotted yellow, and you can see it goes a loop around Mid-Lake. On the bottom of Mid-Lake, it comes up only because we need to be able to utilize the new bridge, low water crossing, to cross the outfall ditch. And then it goes back across and then goes back into the woods again and does a loop into the woods. And the right-hand side is kind of, it's Ryan and me kind of scouting and looking at where we could put the trail and where the high ground is. And it just gives you an idea of what the woods look like back there. Very similar to Brazos River Park woods. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just an overview of all the trails at Memorial Park and Brazos River Park to give you an idea kind of where this new trail sits in relation to all the other trails. And you can see that, again, the left-hand side is Brazos River Park, green, and then the right is the, Kelsey says, can we see a closer view of the proposed map, full screen? I think we can do that. Can we go back one and can we zoom in at all? Do you think we could zoom in a little bit? Thanks for working on that. So I'm sorry if this isn't quite big on your screen. Sorry, go up a couple of slides, and right there. Is there any way to zoom in on that? Or the next slide? If there's not.
It's in presentation
in.
view, so it's a little bit hard.
Okay. All right. Well, the next slide might explain it a little better. Let's go to the next slide, and I'll try to explain it a little bit better. So this is kind of an overview, but you can see there in the center of the screen is the dotted yellow line, which is the proposed trail. And it would literally, it connects the Brazos River Green trail that is existing. It's a sidewalk loop trail in the disc golf area. And then it comes down behind Mid-Lake and then as a loop, and then it comes up to the new Brazos River road that 717 is currently building right now. And then it loops over and then goes back in the woods. And now I got a video on the next slide that I think is really going to hone in on your question. So let's go to the next slide and look at the video. So this video is a video that Communications shot that primarily wanted to feature the new Brazos River Park road and sidewalk, but I used it to show that this is the road coming in, but this is where the trails are also going to go. So as you can see, the new bike trail is going to go in those woods right there to the right of the road in the current frame between the road and the river, the Brazos River. So that's going to utilize those woods right there for the new connector trail to get you from one park to the other in a kind of loop fashion, trying to keep it a one-way. for safety. So you can see from the drone footage that there's Memorial Park Dog Park right there. And then from the dog park going towards Brazos River Park, the towers in the background, the trail would go in those woods right there. It's a 1 mile road. So as you can see, it's quite a lot of stretch of woods. So that's where that video drone footage is pretty much where the new trail would go. Next slide, please. Okay, when I was out there doing some scouting and some GoProing videoing and some pictures, I ran into Scott, an avid park rider and FBMB member. I love to ride Brindley Trail Loop to warm up and then ride over to Brazos River Park Trail to finish out my ride. Having a trail in between these two trails would allow me to ride more trail and not have to utilize the levee or go between the parks with my vehicle. A trail that extends between the two parks would be awesome. Next slide, please. So staff recommendation is approval of a new single bike trail, BRP connector trail, that connects the Brazos River Park Bike Trail to the trails at Sugarland Memorial Park per the request from the Fort Bend Mountain Bike Association per the direction in the license agreement. So next slide, please. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions and then get a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, William. And thank you, William, Tricia, and Communications for that great video. That was fun. Now for board comment, we'll begin with Heather Gillen.
I don't have any questions, but just comments. Great job on keeping all the trails maintained. I have plenty of friends and coworkers that love to go on the trails. Regarding the new trail, don't really have questions about the layout, but just a comment on when it gets installed, if approved. I'm assuming you guys already know, you guys install these trails often and understand where the high points are and wouldn't put it in a low point, and understand all the floodplain requirements and not wanting to add any fill in the floodplain as you're doing that work. So those are just some comments that I'm sure you guys will address when you install the trail. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you.
Moving on to Kelsey Johnson.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. It makes a lot of sense to connect those two trails. And I wasn't able to make out initially what you were talking about, but with further explanation, I understood where the connector trail is intended to go. And thank you also for pointing out that the loop is required for the one-way safety feature. So that makes a whole lot of sense. I'm for it and would approve the recommendation too.
Thank you, Kelsey. I don't know if Ho-Jin Lim has had a chance to join us yet. Moving on to Kelsey Lowe.
Great presentation. It seems like a very sensible route, and it's going to be welcomed by lots of people. My only question is, now that we're 2 years into this agreement, how are the existing trails holding up with this increased traffic?
Yeah, great question. And we're not quite 2 years. We're a little just past a year. So we just passed a year, like around December. So we're a couple of months into the second term. But you're right, it's a lot of impact to the trails. COVID has significantly increased the traffic on the trails. Ryan can chime in too if he wants, but the trails are holding up well. I mean, obviously hours are going into maintaining them. But I mean, I had no issues when I rode I'm a very beginner, hadn't rode a mountain bike in 10 year kind of guy. And I rode Tower Run Trail with very little ease just last week. So yeah, when they get rainy, it gets wet, they get a little muddy, and the mountain bikers are good about, notifying people to stay off the trails, wait for them to dry up. Oyster Creek dries up very quickly. So that's a good one to ride when it's just rained a couple of days ago. Brazos River takes a little bit more to dry out. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, to me, FBMBA just gets right on it, and whatever issues there are or whatever they need to do. I mean, trails are open back pretty quickly, and yeah, it's getting crowded out there. There's no lie about that, but they manage it really well. So
there's no concern about the long-term maintenance, long-term viability of these trails with all the increased traffic. I know they're putting in a lot of work with the Mountain Association, but yeah, I mean, that's a lot of volunteer.
You're right. I guess it's just, I'm happy to have the agreement in place because they're helping me. There's no way, Jorge and his 9 guys could maintain these 15 miles of bike trails. There's just no way. So without them, I don't think it would work really, especially with the increased usage that they've gotten. But I think time is going to tell about what further implications are for the continued increase in traffic. But I think that's really the reason why I want to add some more trail to Brazos River Park, is to open up less stress on Tower Loop Trail and Brindley Trail, and open up some trail in between. Try to ease that stress a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, William. And Ryan, did you have any further comments that you wanted to add to William's? Then we'll move on to Kelly Reynolds. Kelly?
Thank you for all the work y'all are doing. It was a very clear presentation, and I think it does make sense to connect them. Thanks.
Thanks, Kelly.
And I'd certainly concur with everyone's comments. It's quite a project in FBMBA. It's really amazing, you guys, what you all are doing to make this such a wonderful recreational opportunity for our residents and yourselves, of course. But thank you so much. And now moving forward with a vote, I probably am going to do it one by one because I can't see everybody at one time up at the on my screen. So beginning with Heather Gillen, your vote, please.
Yes, I approve and recommend it.
And you did say that before, didn't you? Kelsey Johnson.
Yes, I vote to recommend and approve.
Kelsey Lowe.
I approve and recommend.
Thank you. And Kelly Reynolds.
I approve and recommend.
And it looks like that we have a unanimous recommendation for approval of the proposed trail, and congratulations to the group. This is going to be a nice addition to the city.
Thanks, Barbara, and thanks, Ryan and Anthony, for all your help over the last year and 3 months. It's been appreciated.
And thank you both for being on the call today, because we would have welcomed, of course, any comments you might have made. William was pretty thorough in any remarks he had, but right now, did you have anything further that you two would like to add?
Well, this is Anthony Baber, and I just wanted to thank everyone. This past year, I know we went through a lot of pre-work before we got our agreement in place, and I just wanted to point out how well that's paying off. Not just for us and not just for the Parks Department, but for our community as a whole, and we really take that responsibility seriously. We really do feel like this is a better community for having people out there, and who knew COVID was coming when that happened, right? That everybody would want to be outside when they were stuck in their house, and it was just very serendipitous that it worked out well. But we take that responsibility very seriously, and we heard what y'all had to say about finding the high ground and making sure there isn't too much wear. We take that very seriously as well. We have a master geologist on our board who advises us. We love trees, we avoid anything over 3 inches when we're going through the brambles and things like that. So yeah, we really, this is a passion for us, and it's nice that it becomes a self-sustaining, because like you said, we get the benefit. So it behooves us to get these volunteers to get out there and do the work as well. So it becomes very self-sustaining with our group. But thank you all for the opportunity, and we really, really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Anthony, for the comments. We're moving on then to our next agenda, unless Ryan, did you have something you wanted to add? Excuse me. Okay, well, we'll move on then to the next item on our agenda. And it's a workshop item, review of a discussion on proposed Parks and Recreation fiscal year 2021 community special events. Brianna Williams, event production manager. Brianna?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Brianna. I do see a lot of new faces, so I just want to introduce myself. I am the event production manager for the city, housed in Parks and Recreation under Kimberly. I do have one full-time coordinator and one part-time coordinator, and together the team creates all of the city special events that we host on a regular basis. Just for our agenda today, we will be going over the recap of our FY20 events, and then I'll also give an overview of some of the plans for our FY21. In addition to some general fun facts that we do have about our events, some of the social media data, and also a short video towards the end of the presentation. Next slide. So this slide just gives you a recap of our FY20 schedule. This was the full year's worth of events that we were planning to have. What I did was I went ahead and grayed out the events that we did have to cancel due to COVID restrictions. And then I went ahead and noted on the side the amendments that we made based on COVID. Our Sugar Gala was untouched. It happened at the Imperial Park Recreation Center. And we did not have to change anything due to COVID. COVID pretty much ramped up in March. And that's why we had to cancel the International Art and Kite Festival. But then we picked up with our Memorial Day ceremony. I'll go through these fairly quickly because we'll go through them slide by slide with the full events and what we did and what we're going to do. But the Memorial Day ceremony, we did host a video tribute and we invited people to come out to the park and social distance. Our food truck movie and concert series, we replaced with a virtual summer series. Our Red, White, and Boom, we hosted virtually with a video and we played past year's fireworks, our fireworks show. The Fall Festival was completely virtual for 2020. Our Food Truck Fridays event we had in October and November, it transitioned back to our face-to-face events. Just to give you a recap, around October or September time, we started to have events again. So we limited the capacity and we had that one at Sugar Land Memorial Park. And then last but not least, our Christmas tree lighting, instead of it being a one-day event, it was re-imaged into a 12 days of Christmas celebration. So right now, what I'll do is I'll go through all of these events in full detail, and then I'll try to give you a little pre-show of what we are planning to do for FY21. Next slide. So first up is our Sugar Gala. It's your traditional daddy-daughter dance. There's dancing, sweet treats. It happens inside of our Imperial Park Recreation Center, and they pretty much turn the whole place into some sort of magical atmosphere. This year that you see on the slide was when we did a Mad Hatter theme, which shows why the hats were on the table. This event will be re-imaged for 2021 with the hopes of doing something in May that's still to be determined. Next slide. The next event was our 2020 Memorial Day ceremony. What we did with this one is we planned a full video tribute. The video was played during the month of May. It included our mayor, council, and also our master of ceremonies that is traditionally at the Sugar Land Memorial Day ceremony. He did the intro, the closing, and he talked about COVID restrictions and the safety things that we needed to follow while people came out to the park. The video invited everyone to come out to the park and visit the monuments. And what we did is we placed several different signs up in the park that kind of told people to social distance, et cetera. Wasn't an event, but it was something that we could do. In addition to the video tribute, we also did special veteran tributes on social media. This is where you could talk about your favorite veteran, or some veterans actually told stories about their days when they were in the military, et cetera. With this event, this was the first event that we did fully virtually, and our social media numbers were about 6.6 thousand total views, and we had 450 engagements. For FY21, the plan is to host an in-person event as of now, with possibly a live feed for the event on social media. What I'll do is I'll tell you about the FY21 plans, noting that if COVID restrictions decide that we can't host, what we'll do is we'll amend things and pretty much do exactly what we did in FY20. Next slide. Uh-oh. Alrighty, next slide is our 2020 Red, White, and Boom. This event we had a little bit more time to play with. So we did the video tribute, but we also got the community fully involved with this one. We had most of the sponsors and our businesses that would normally participate in the actual Red, White, and Boom event. What we did is we did an all call to them and we asked them for contributions to our patriotic party packages. And we also asked them if they would just recite a piece of the Pledge of Allegiance. Some of our Parks Board members, I want to say, participated in that as well. What we did was we played the video. Mayor did the intro. There was some upbeat music. We showed some of our past celebrations that we hosted. And then we also invited our Sugarland superstar to come and sing the national anthem. We did it inside of a studio, and then we embedded the video with our fireworks from past years. So you still got to see some sort of fireworks show. It just wasn't live. It was a video version. The patriotic party packages were distributed from our Imperial Park Recreation Center, and they had tons of different things inside of them. Cupcake making equipment, they had coloring books, they had novelties that you can play with, DIY projects from the rustic brush, etc. In addition to the video that was played, we also wanted to make it more interactive. So we did bingo on July 4th, different coloring sheets were posted on our social media page, and we also did a virtual parade. With this event, the total views were 3.6K, and then we also had a total engagements of 1303. The FY21 plan is to launch the fireworks at the Crown Festival Park and do sort of a drive-in event where you can pretty much stay in your cars and watch the fireworks show on site. Next slide. Next up was our virtual summer series. With this event, we planned it around Parks and Rec Month. With Parks and Rec Month, we always do something different every year. So last year, with the keeping up with the theme of the virtual events, we pretty much planned a week-long worth of virtual activities, all of which were showcased on Facebook. We also highlighted our Parks and Rec staff via a video because the theme for National Parks and Recreation was We Are Parks and Recreation. So we pretty much planned a full video, and we also had all of these different activities that you can kind of see on this, this flyer outlined out. But it included cooking demonstrations, we had fitness classes in our rec center, we had a painting class, we even went out to the butterfly garden and did things there. And then we ended the week with a concert at our Imperial Park Recreation Center, and that's a picture of the band Counterfeit who was on site that night. With this event, we did, just to give you the numbers, total views were 13K over the course of the week, and our engagements were 5,484. For FY20, we are planning to host a movie in the park for our Parks and Recreation Month event. Next slide. Okay, so next up is our 2020 Inaugural Fall Festival. And yes, you've heard me correctly. Brand new event kicked off right in the middle of COVID. What we did with this one, the plan was obviously for us to host an in-person event, but because we were not hosting in-person events, what we did was we went all out and hosted a day-long of pretty much virtual activities. Anything that you would normally see on site at our festival, we had online that day for the festival. We had a full calendar of events. It included bands, dancers. We videoed everything prior to the day of the event, and we pretty much had constant videos that played on social media all day. Pumpkin carving contests, we did magic shows, etc. We did cooking demonstrations at Fish City Grill. We did a fashion show at Alter State. There were pretty much things for you to do nonstop all day, and you could pick and choose what you wanted to participate in. That was the beauty of it. the total social media views for all of the events, there were pretty much 11 different videos posted that day, was 3,322. The engagements within the 11 videos was 6,561. In addition to what happened online, we also had a scavenger hunt that you could do on site in Sugar Land Town Square. We left that open for one full week. We also had, and you can see it in this photo here, virtual or backdrops inside of Sugar Land Town Square. So you can go out there and take a picture with your family in front of a photo backdrop that was on site. But there's pretty much opportunities for everybody for this. For this one, the plan is to continue to host an FY21. This year, the hope is that we do have an in-person event versus the online event that we had in 2020. Next slide. Next up is our Fall Food Truck Fridays. If anybody can remember, in October timeframe or September timeframe, we were back in the swing of, okay, let's try some events. So what we did was we did a soft launch with the Fall Food Truck Fridays events, following all COVID restrictions and guidelines. So we had temperature checks on site, which you can see in the video. Everybody wore face masks if they couldn't be 6 feet apart from anybody else. We didn't have many activities. This was pretty much you come out to the park, you enjoy some music, you get dinner, and you sit with your group. And this event pretty much had walks of people from all ages, and they wanted to be there. They just wanted to get out of the house at this point. They had enough of virtual things all summer long. They wanted to do something else, and they wanted to go to the parks, and that's what they did. So for this one, it was music, fun, and food. But we also, as a special treat, had beer and wine sponsors. So the wine was sponsored by a local liquor store, and the beer was actually sponsored by St. Arnold's. So what it did was it allowed for 2 free tickets to be given to any adult that was on site, free of charge. They didn't know that they were going to get it prior to, but if they got there and they were there on site, they pretty much got a nice treat. With this event, nothing was online. There was no virtual element to it, but we did have an event page that was active. The responses on that page was 1,600 for all 3 events. We also had 84 engagements on the page. This event was so successful that the goal in 2021 is to host 3 different Food Truck Friday series throughout 2021. They are going to be different in scope. One will be with full bands. One will be just like this one with just DJ entertainment. And then one will be a movie series. Moving on to the next slide. Next, last but not least, is our 2020 Christmas tree lighting. For this event, what we normally host is a one-day 10,000 person event. Well, we obviously didn't want to have 10,000 people show up on site, especially during COVID. So what we did was we created a 12 days of Christmas event centered around the Christmas tree lighting time. So what we did was from December 1st to December 12th, we had nightly holiday light shows, which took place inside of Sugar Land Town Square. It was pretty much like moving lights and things on City Hall and on the tree. And then it would end after 15 minutes with the tree lighting up every night. So you pretty much can pick a night and just go to it. Or if you were already in the plaza, you just got to see something cool. In addition to the nightly light show that happened for 12 days, we also had virtual and in-person activities. The virtual activities took place Monday through Thursday. The in-person activities took place on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for the most part. With that, we were able to break up the crowd pretty good. The weekend events, we shared with Sugar Land Town Square. They usually help us host this event because it's so large. What we did was the first weekend, the city of Sugar Land hosted all 3 days. The second weekend, Sugar Land Town Square hosted all 3 days. We capped the attendance at about 575, and we had different things every night. So For Friday, we had our Frosty Friday, which was all ice related things, ice sculpting, ice carving, ice skating on site. And then Saturday, we had Saturday with the Stars. So we gave our Sugarland Superstars a chance to come out, and they had a Christmas concert. We combined them all, and all they could do is sing Christmas songs. And then on Sunday, we had our Santa Sunday workshop, which is where we set up DIY craft tables all throughout the plaza area, and a family could pretty much come out, enjoy a brunch from a local eatery, and then they could bring it out and do nothing but crafts at the table with their kids if they wanted to. So with this, we pretty much had something for everybody to do. The total views for this one with all the activities and the live streams were 19,490. The total engagements was 879. For FY20, again, the hope is to host our one-day event. That may not be realistic, but that's the hope right now. And if not, then we can always go back to this 12 days of Christmas because it was great to plan. All right, so the next slide is pretty much a video of what I just talked about.
Founding fathers, grave and gray-haired, but most of them were boys when they died, and they gave up
the Memorial Day ceremony.
The one they were living and the one they would have lived.
America. This is July 4th.
America, may God thy glorified.
The virtual summer series. Fall Festival.
Santa Sunday workshop, Saturday with the stars.
This was our Christmas tree lighting promo video. So it pretty much shows a recap of some of the things that we got to do in 2020. Wasn't our traditional events, but we did have fun planning them, and they were different. If you want to go check out any of the videos in full length, they're still on our social media pages. And there's one more slide. This slide gives you the FY20 events that you can look forward to. I will go ahead and note some of the ones that we didn't touch on because they weren't planned in FY20, but we will be having a new outdoor chess tournament on Saturday, March 13th in Sugarland Town Square. Our International Art and Kite Festival wasn't mentioned that much because it was canceled, but we are planning to host it this year with a limited amount of attendance and COVID restrictions at Brazos River Park. Like I mentioned, the Food Truck Friday events, we do have 3 of them listed here. One in April, which will be a concert series with live bands. We do have another one in August. That's going to be the movie series at Oyster Creek Park. And the last one is our Fall Food Truck Fridays, which will be DJ entertainment, and that one will be hosted in October. There is one more mention that I do want to talk about, and that is the possibility of a yak that will possibly take place once a month throughout the year, pretty much at our dog park. So that's something cool to look forward to as well. And all the other events here are to TBD. We still are planning to try to host them in some capacity. And like I said, all of this can change based on COVID restrictions. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. With that, does anybody have any questions?
This is Kelly. Can I just jump in?
Sure. You sure can, Kelly. Go ahead.
Just to say, this is amazing. I think y'all did an outstanding job, and it all looks like it was even more fun than anybody could have ever hoped to imagine. It was really great. And also to say, I kind of hope you keep the 12 days of Christmas, just because it seems nice to break it up if people can't go to just a single activity. And also it's probably not a bad idea to break your crowds up in any case, even if everything's fine, you know, and maybe it doesn't have to be 12 days, but I think that was a really awesome idea.
Thanks,
so,
thanks.
Well done.
And kudos to Jake in our communications department, and also Trisha, who kind of stepped in behind the scenes and did tons of different things for us. They're pretty much, because everything was virtual, there was a lot of video production, editing, etc., that had to be done on a regular basis. And they both stepped up to the plate and did a lot of it for us.
Well, congratulations. Job well done.
Thank you.
Heather, any comments?
Yeah, I just agree with everything that she said. Great job. Totally enjoyed everything that you put together. You're so creative. It was just outstanding, and really excited to sing 2021, but great job. Thank you so much for all the effort that you put into that.
Thank you.
Kelsey Johnson?
Yeah, thanks so much. It was wonderful to see the recap and also to see how you're tweaking things along the way, integrating some new creative ideas, and probably those things will be good learning experiences in case we need to continue some of these things, or even just reimagine some things more permanently. Like as Kelly had mentioned, I also like the idea of the 12 days of Christmas, even if it's scaled down a bit, because I know it sounds like it was a lot of work to pull that off. But in terms of crowd control and just continuing to activate spaces, both in our parks and then in town square itself, I think that that's a really good strategy. I missed the audio cut out for me when you said that you were going to be doing something monthly, maybe with a dog park. Could you repeat that part?
Yeah, we're talking about hosting a yappy hour, which would pretty much be a dog park version of a happy hour.
I see.
Once a month, and we're still in the planning phases, but we're talking about doing it once a month so that it's a reoccurring thing that just happens organically, with food trucks and possibly dog watering stations, etc.
Great. I don't have a dog, but that sounds like it'll be a big hit.
Well, Food Truck Fridays is your thing.
Yeah.
Kelsey Lowe.
Fabulous work. It's an amazing amount of effort that had to go in to deal with the craziness of COVID. And I think you guys have handled it absolutely brilliantly. I'm very much looking forward to doing the different kinds of Food Truck Fridays coming up. I think that's brilliant, expanding the ideas. And yeah, just a really cool slate of activities. And I also will pile on saying I really loved the 12 days of Christmas, having it spread out. I know that makes it more challenging, but it's a really great way to add diversity and also reduce crowding. So put me in supporting that side.
Thanks, Kelsey. Yeah, and copying everybody else, the 12 Days of Christmas was great fun. I caught a couple of the events from way in the sidelines, and you guys did a wonderful job, especially with the social distancing. And it just looked like a very safe place to be the few times that I was there. And of course, the food trucks, who doesn't like the food trucks? So I'm looking forward to more of those too next year. So thank you all very much, you and the folks that worked with you, Brianna. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on now to item 5, Director's Report. Joe Chesser, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Hard to follow 2 really good presentations, but we still had quite a bit going on here in January, even though it's supposed to be sort of the dead of winter, we had a whole lot going on. First off, from the video you saw on William's presentation, you got a good idea of how much progress has been made on the road and trail down at Brazos River Park. That project's going really well. It did slow down a little bit because of some of the rainy weather, kind of slowed down the contractor a little bit. They're finishing up with the grading now, the irrigation and the tree plantings. So hopefully they'll be able to get back on that and get it done and get it open here pretty soon. You can bring the slide presentation back up now. Cullinan Park's been keeping us really busy too. We were fortunate to have an Eagle Scout project come forward to us. Harvey Zoo had the idea of repairing a bridge there at Cullinan Park. on a little tributary that flows into Oyster Creek. There was a older, kind of a dilapidated, probably maybe a little bit dangerous bridge in this particular area. And his Eagle Scout project was to get the materials and a crew together and come out and fix the bridge up along with Colonel Williams' leadership on that. So it's a nice addition to the park there at Cullinan, and it's on a very busy trail. So it's a good addition to the park. Also at Cullinan, William, Jorge, and staff, this is one of our crew members, Ruben Ramirez, that they all got in kayaks. William owns kayaks, and they got in kayaks and went out and did a nice trash pickup in the lake. The lake with the vegetation and as big as it is, it's hard to get to some of those areas. So about the only way to get some of it cleaned up is with a kayak. So I think they just used it as an excuse to get out on a nice day out on the water and have some fun, and then do a good deed by cleaning it up. So they got quite a few bags of litter out of the lake. So really glad to see that happening. And then also on a separate project, when we took over Cullinan, there was some sort of some old outbuildings that used to be on the site that were kind of falling over and potentially dangerous. And these were on the backside of White Lake off of one of the trails. And when the park wasn't that busy, it didn't seem like that big of a deal, but to have those there. But as the park visitations picked up, there was interest in removing those buildings. So wintertime's a good time to get in so you can see things when the vegetation's down for the winter. So staff got in and had to rent some equipment, and then got a big roll-off dumpster brought to the park, and we're able to get rid of a lot of debris that had accumulated or been built many years ago on the backside of the park. So those were two other projects that they did. We're moving forward with signage in the park to prevent bicycling. The original donation deed for Cullinan Park from the original donor, Nina Cullinan, included language prohibiting bike riding and certainly motorcycle riding in the parks. So the city of Houston, when they were in control of the park, didn't do much to stop that, and it tended to get more and more popular. But now that we've got numerous other bicycle trails in the city, we feel like it's a much better time to go in and try to enforce this no biking requirement in the park. And also with the high level of visitation in the parks, it's best just to not have bicycles and that many pedestrians interacting with each other. So we're really kind of glad within our park system, we can have a park that can focus primarily on pedestrian trails, nature trails that people won't have to worry about encountering bicycles. And it also should help free up some of our trails that are more specific to bicycling by having a place specifically for walkers to go to, so we can avoid some conflicts there. And the signage that we're putting in at the park describes the reason for that prohibition of bicycling as part of the original donor's vision for the park. And the signs also include information on where to find our mountain bike trails. Oops, my light just went out. We're very eco-friendly here, so we've got our lights go off on timers, and it just does it in untimely fashion sometimes. The other thing going on at Cullinan Park, I don't want to forget, is we've just signed the Phase 2 improvement contract, which will focus on trails and parking improvements there at the park. So we've just kind of kicked off that project. Next slide, please. At the end of January, we held our annual disc golf tournament. Disc golf is an activity that works well with COVID restrictions because it doesn't require people to be really close to each other and in big groups. So we were able to go ahead and pull that off this year. The slots are limited to 110 participants, and it was completely booked this year. So it was a good time. We had a good weather that day, and had a really good turnout. It was a nice event. This is held at our disc golf course at Imperial Park. Just to sort of also update you on the transition from Rise Soccer to Imperial Soccer at Lost Creek Park. So far, it's going well. The groups are working with each other. Rise is transitioning to other locations, but still have some time slots here at Lost Creek Park. And then as Imperial's ramping up at the site, they're utilizing all the other fields in the park. So it's working well right now. So the work that we've put into making this transition has turned out to be a good situation so far. And we're fingers crossed that everything stays positive on that front. Next slide, please. A new event that's coming up that we think is going to be kind of unique is a chess tournament in Town Square. And so Kimberly and Brianna and group are working on that right now. There's an organization in town that will host these tournaments. So there again, it's got its challenges with COVID restrictions, but they can be spread out and require masks and all the other requirements to meet the safety guidelines. So we are moving forward with that. It will be outdoors. So fingers crossed that it's good weather that day. So this will be an interesting and new thing to be offering here in the community. Next slide. Just some quick highlights. One of our employees hit his 20-year anniversary this year, Ruben Ramirez. He's one of our general maintenance workers. He's been a very loyal employee to us. He's on call on weekends a lot of times, and he knows our park system backwards and forwards. He's great for training our new hires when they come on to be able to find all the parks and know where all the, where every valve box and light switch and you name it. There's so many different things in the parks that our guys have to know about and know where to find and how to fix. So we're happy to celebrate his 20th year with the city. And then William, there's a certification through the National Parks and Recreation Association called a Certified Parks and Recreational Professional. And William took the exam and passed it with flying colors. And now he's got that certification as well to go along with his arborist certification. So we got well prepared and educated and conscientious employees here working for the Parks Department. And I think that's it. I'd be happy to answer any questions about anything if anybody has any questions.
It's Kelly. I'm going to jump in again just to quickly say that I think the chess deal looks like a really nice new option. I think that looks like fun. And also that thank God you're doing something about the Cullinan Park bikes. I've had numerous people complain about that to me over the last couple of years, I guess. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kelly. How about Heather?
Thanks. Only comment is, again, just thanks for all the work that you're doing to maintain our parks. We have some of the best parks. I really enjoy them a lot. So just thanks for all you do.
Kelly Johnson.
Just a big thank you. No comments or questions.
How about you, Kelsey Lowe?
Echoing what everyone said, awesome work for everyone. Congrats all around. And I'm especially excited about the Cullinan improvements since that's kind of my home park.
Very good. Joe, a question on the pump track project. When is that going to be completed? And how much space is that going to take by the Crown Festival Park?
This is something we've just kind of gotten started on. It's in its very preliminary steps right now. At this point, it's mostly just in exploration right now mode to see if it's something we want to consider doing. It's one reason we haven't really come to the board with it because it's just such at a such an early stage. So there will be more information to come on that. And just so if you're not familiar with what a pump track is, it's a more contained kind of bike track. It's paved, or they don't have to be paved, but it's best if they're paved, and they're generally asphalt. And it's a series of rolling kind of hills and banked turns, and the bicycles can go through it. They can kind of get going, and just the momentum through the track and the way the track is laid out, they kind of meander through the route. And we've done some research on it. It's really growing in popularity. It kind of started in Europe, but it's getting bigger and more popular in the United States. Red Bull, the energy drink, even has like a world championship of pump track riding. So it is growing, and it's something that we're exploring as a possibility. Since the biking community has really grown here, the city's seen it as a potential type of destination facility, not just that, but biking in general. So we're pursuing that idea. And so, like I said, should be more information to come as we work through the process.
And I understand it's all preliminary right now as you're looking at this project, but I thought that the Crown Festival Park was an opportunity too for groups to have events there. And I just assumed that this particular project would be more to the side, so it wouldn't interfere with any other group or 4th of July.
There is a piece there that is undeveloped, and it's kind of been saved off to the side. It's not really programmed for anything. So that was kind of the thought there. If something like this really needs to not go down within the floodway of the Brazos River, but it's a good connection piece to what activities are going on at the park. So that's why we're exploring that location.
And one other question on the memorial art opportunity that is being looked at this point. I understand that economic development and the philanthropy manager are looking for donations, but do they have in mind yet any type of art, or it's just that once they know how much money they have, they're going to determine what they would put there?
We're having some preliminary discussions on the location. I believe you're talking about, Barbara, is in the Memorial Park and the Plaza area.
Yes.
The original plan for the park included the memorials that you see there now, another project that we're working on to put a plaza near the eagle sculpture that's gone in. And then in the plaza at the main pavilion there, the idea is to have it doesn't have to necessarily be sculptures, but a display or an art installation that's focused on welcoming military personnel home. So that is the concept behind it. So statues that we would use would be based very much on that concept of a welcoming home of military personnel. So we're very much in the early stages of that. There's some fundraising going on there. We've got a potential donor, and so we are working through that.
Oh, thank you very much. I didn't have any other questions. And unless any board members had further questions, do I call for a motion to adjourn our meeting this evening?
I'll motion to adjourn. Heather.
Heather.
And I'll second.
Okay, and
I'll second it.
Oh, excuse me, Kelsey Johnson seconds. So our meeting of February 9th, 2021 is actually adjourned. It was good seeing everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.